Citizens speak out. As people continue to gather in solidarity for human rights and basic freedoms, their voices can be heard in countries across the globe, such as Afghanistan, Bahrain, Brazil, Côte d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast, Honduras, Jordan, Libya, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Tunisia and Yemen.
President Alassane Ouattara of Côte d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast announced his new government Wednesday, June 1st, made up of representatives from his own party as well as members of civil society to begin the country's recovery of stability and peace.
U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton announced Wednesday that the U.S. will do everything possible to stop civilian casualties in Afghanistan, as she also expressed regrets and condolences to the families of those killed. The U.S. government is meanwhile seeking to engage in direct talks with Taliban leaders in Afghanistan to reconcile groups within the country as it prepares to begin withdrawing troops in July.
Despite protests by indigenous people and other environmental activists who have spoken out against the forced displacement of tens of thousands of people, as well as the expected harm to Brazil's tropical rainforests, the nation's Environment Agency has approved the construction of a hydroelectric dam on the Amazon River. The dam is the first of 10 planned by Brazil for the Amazon.
A spokesperson for the Tunisian Ministry of Justice announced that the Qatari government has complied with the request to freeze the assets of former regime president Zain al-Abidine Ben Ali and his family.
In spite of the state of emergency having been lifted Wednesday in Bahrain, security forces continue to violently suppress all efforts by Bahrainis to march for improved democracy. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has welcomed King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa's call for national dialogue, calling upon all parties to engage in constructive efforts to talk, as he also urged the government and security forces to respect human rights and fundamental freedoms.
In Honduras, teachers on a hunger strike have appealed to former President Manuel Zelaya to help get 303 of their colleagues reinstated. The teachers were suspended after protesting the privatization of education and in favor of better living conditions.
In Libya, former oil minister Shukri Ghanem defected to join the revolutionaries.
On Wednesday in Syria, security forces killed 41 citizens, including a 4-year-old girl, during a rally in the town of Rastan, where protesters were demanding that President Bashar al-Assad step down. Meanwhile, the government pledged to investigate into the case of 13-year-old Hamza el-Khatib, who was tortured and killed by security forces in response to widespread outrage by Syrians and the international community, including U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. In addition, President al-Assad issued a decree to establish a national dialogue committee as protests calling for his resignation continued.
On Wednesday, U.S. President Barack Obama sent top diplomat Mr. John Brennan to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates to discuss Yemen's worsening violence.
As we grieve for the precious human lives lost and those suffering, we pray for the end of conflicts across the globe and that all citizens may choose to coexist in dignity, freedom, and lasting peace.